Have you ever re-gifted something?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm asking you to incriminate yourself on air.
Oh, yikes. Well, Emily, you did give me that sweater made of beaver fur one year.
Yeah, and I got it from my lumberjack friend.
Darn it, that's who I re-gifted it to.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've been pretty good at not re-gifting things. You know, I'm good at being like,
That's true.
I can't give this out again.
Yeah, you put a lot of pressure on yourself with gifts. I've seen you gift shop.
It's the only thing I do for some people, you know? the rest of the year, I'm like, I don't care about them. And then, you know, Christmas comes and I'm like, this is the only gesture of goodwill I have.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I have done? I've re-gifted gift boxes. I reuse gift boxes and gift bags all the time.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes you get a good one and you're like, I can't, it would be crazy to throw this away.
Yeah, but even the bad ones, I'm just like, I can't, I could just
Kyle,
use it.
It's just
to put something in.
Hands.
Yeah, but you just close your eyes so you don't see what's in it. Have you ever regifted, Emily?
No, but sometimes I have given a gift of something that I just had as my own thing.
Oh, sure.
And then I thought, yeah, I'm not using this and it would be a nice gift, so I'll just give it.
Is that where I got that used bar of hand soap from?
No, but that is where you got some of the dice I gave you.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is true.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Emily Moyers and Kyle Imperator take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hello, everybody. Speaking of two dies, welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Kyle Imperator.
And I'm Emily Moyers. Great segue.
Because we're full of pips.
Yeah, we are full of pips.
Do you have a word in there amongst your pips, Emily?
I do have a word amongst all my pips. Isn't that a relief that I've got one?
It really is, because I've waited here for a few hours for you to be ready, you know?
Let me break the tension here, Kyle. Your word is Mathom. Mathom. Mathom.
How do you do, Mathom? I do believe we haven't met before.
You guys, Kyle's a comedy genius. A comedy genius.
A comedy genius.
Who I would never come near at the bar.
Where do you think you're going? I shall buy you a drink.
Yes, Kyle, the word is Mathom.
I am floored, stunned.
I guess, yeah, it's probably Mathom with a voiceless TH. I think it can be both. TH. I'm going to stick to Mathom.
Mathom. Like, so when someone says, I need you to dazzle the crowd, it's like, oh, get out your calculus and Mathom.
You got it.
Okay, Mathom. Oh boy, language of origin.
I'll be honest, Kyle, the word is old enough that I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't know
probably
the
could
language
be
of origin?
No. I don't know if it's Mathom or Mathom.
Oh,
but I think it could probably be both because it's super old and nowadays it's mostly written.
I mean, I want to just say it comes from Old English.
You would be right.
But does it go back even further than that as well?
Sure, other like Proto-Germanic roots, but you know the derivation is Old English.
Gotcha. Is it a noun?
It is a noun.
It is a noun. Any other things, please?
Would you like a clue?
Oh, yeah, a clue would be great, yeah.
Your one-word clue is twee.
Oh, is a Mathom like just a small thing?
Really close. Can you be a little more specific?
Is it like a cute thing?
Yeah, I'll give it to you, Kyle. Yeah. A Mathom is a trinket, knick-knack, or tchotchke.
Oh my God!
A small cute
so
thing.
Cute. Mathom. I never knew that I needed another word because those 3 words are really good words for those things.
Yes, you could also say a piece of bric-a-brac which is the same.
Emily, I feel like, not to get us way off course right at the beginning, but I feel like the first word that you and I ever talked about outside of this podcast, when this podcast was just a twinkling in our eye, was a word meaning like an odd and end, like a trinket, right? What was that word?
It was malevolence. And I almost decided to talk about it in this episode. And then I was like, well, the only connection is just a connection in mine and Kyle's lives.
Right, yeah. It's important to us.
Malevolence means like, odds and ends, not really like nice things, just like scraps. Yeah. I think the root of that was like to manarvel, meaning to pillage. I looked into it while I was researching.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just a quick aside. Hey, that was a mini episode of Butter No Parsnips, you guys. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely.
Now on to the meat and potatoes of Mathom.
Of Mathom.
So the definition that I just gave you, trinkets or bric-a-brac, came about in the mid-20th century, but the Old English Mathom had a slightly different definition. It meant a precious thing, a treasure, or a valuable gift.
So like of any size.
And potentially like very valuable,
right,
like gold.
A sword or a crown.
Yeah. So the Old English word had
people gifted back then, right?
I mean, sure, if you were like a king visiting another king.
Right, yeah.
So the Old English word had a number of cognates in other Germanic languages of the time. In Old Saxon, there was Mathom, meaning a precious thing or a treasure. In Old Icelandic, there was Mathmar, which was plural. It meant valuables. Or in Gothic, there was Mathoms, which is a gift. And all of those words derived from a Proto-Germanic word, mathmas, which meant a gift, which likely came from the Proto-Indo-European root mate, meaning to exchange.
Oh, it comes from a verb. Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I guess it's like the thing that is exchanged. And that Proto-Indo-European root is also the origin of the Latin word mutare, to exchange or to change, which is where we get...
Mutate?
Mutate. Yep. That's where we get the English word mutate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I guess
I'm going crazy.
Mutate and Mathom are doublets in that sense because they ultimately come from the same root.
Or mutant and Mathom.
Yeah. Another fun thing of linguistics. Let's talk about letters for a second, Kyle.
Letters are so fun. You get all of the Butter No Parsnips letters.
Yes, I do. But these are letters that English no longer uses.
Oh, like the thorn is one that I can name. Is that in Mathom?
Kyle. So the Old English Mathom, as well as all of those other Germanic words that I said, I found them all spelled with either a thorn or an eth. Kyle, do you know what either of those letters are? Eth, E-T-H.
Oh, an eth. Well, thorn is th, right?
Yes. Do you know what the letter looks like? Can you describe it?
Yeah, it's like a wonky eye that's closed. Not the letter I, like an eye, like it's a circle with a line through it. Looks like somebody's closing their eye, you know?
Yes, a lowercase thorn sort of looks like a lowercase p with like a tall upper stem to it and is pronounced like a th. And F sort of looks like a backward 6 with a slash through the stem and is also pronounced like a th.
Oh, yes.
I think that is the one you might be talking about because an uppercase F looks like a D with a slash through the line, through the straight line.
Oh, that's not what oh, wow. Then I can really confuse them, huh?
But in any case, they are both pronounced like a TH.
Gotcha. Why?
Yeah. I don't know.
Who did that?
I used to think it was like one was the voiced TH like in breathe and one was for the voiceless like in breath, but I think they were just both used for both, which is why I'm not sure how Mathom is supposed to be pronounced.
You know, I looked into this at one time, like why we had those characters in the first place, and I think it had something to do with the Latin alphabet and kings just adding letters because they're like, I want a letter for me.
Yeah, so these I think were like Germanic letters that we dropped out as English became a little more romanticized.
Sure.
So yeah, thorn is used in a lot of Old Germanic languages like Old English. Eth is used in Old English and into Middle English. And they are both still used in modern Icelandic.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's complicated. Or
the
maybe
Germanic
not, or maybe
languages
better.
held on to the Germanic letters,
Sure.
Now, Kyle, getting back to Mathom, I
Mathom.
would love to give you some quotes using that word in Old English, but boy, Old English is just not English, It's rough. I'll give you an example. Here's the oldest quote that the Oxford English Dictionary has for this word. And it's so far back that the OED calls it early Old English.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is from a guy called Boethius. This is from his meters of Boethius, his poems.
Mm-hmm.
Gilden Mathom, Silofren Sinkstan, Sirogimanan Midden Gerdas Wella Modes Egen Efre Ne Only Tath.
Oh my God. J.R.R. Tolkien is on the podcast?
Kyle, hold that thought. But luckily, I happen to know, Kyle, that you speak fluent Old English, so you should be able to translate that for us, no problem.
I know it perfectly. You said gilded Mathoms.
Yeah.
Something about fries.
Yep.
And the apocalypse will happen in 2016.
That's exactly what it was. It turns out they were wrong, but it's a beautiful
4
poem.
years off. 4 years off.
I've got a slightly better quote here, Kyle. This one's from circa 1275, which puts it
You're
in the
not going
era.
to tell me at all what that poem was about.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh my God, so funny.
It's from early Old English. I've got a better quote from circa 1275, which is in Middle English, so it's a little easier to understand.
Wow.
This is from a poem called Brute by a guy called Laomond.
Love it.
And this line is, "Give us the king and all his gold and the Mathoms of his land."
Aw. Oh, that sounds like a demand.
I think it is.
All the Mathoms, all like the treasures of his land.
All the treasures of his land, yes.
That's fun.
It is fun.
I love Mathoms.
And I have a quick fun side note about that quote, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Again, on the subject of letters no longer in the English alphabet, that quote includes an F, 2 thorns, and a yah.
Oh, I looked up yah. That's how it's pronounced? I thought it was, I don't know, something else.
Well, it is. It's spelled
yah?
with a G. It's spelled Y-O-G-H. So I thought it was yog or yoff maybe, but it's yah, I think.
Be.
And it sort of looks like a number 3.
Yes.
And I think it's pronounced like a Y, which is why I said, "Give us the king."
Yeah. Yep.
And just to cover our bases here, Kyle, if anyone's interested, the other letters, which were once part of the English alphabet but are no longer. Do you know any others, Kyle?
LMNOP.
No, Kyle.
No, let me see if I can think of any. I feel like there's like a Y-ish looking one.
There's one that looks also sort of like a lowercase p, but with the round part sort of stretched downward. That one's called win.
A win,
and it was pronounced like a W. Yeah.
Like a W, yeah. And there's more?
There's a couple of vowels. There's ash, which is the AE squished together, like you sometimes see in encyclopedia.
It's called an ash?
It's called an ash. And weirder, there's one called an ethel,
Merman?
which is OE squished together, which you occasionally see in onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia.
You also see it in French words like ouf.
Yeah. Boof.
Or ouve.
Ouve. Yeah, that's a good... Yeah. Well, yeah, that uses it, huh?
It does.
We should just have one for all vowels. We should just squish them all together. And
squish them all together, all the combos.
A-E-I-O-U all together in one. What is that called?
Yeah. A mess.
A mess. A tragedy.
Now, Kyle, let's skirt back to the Mathom at hand. In Old English, Mathom meant treasure. But today, Mathom means trinkets. Do you want to guess the man who's responsible for that? And I'll give you a hint. You've said his name.
Oh my God. You're telling me that J.R.R. Tolkien took this word and made it so twee.
That's right, Kyle. John Ronald Rule Tolkien. Or I guess maybe it's more accurate to say that the people responsible for this change in meaning are hobbits.
Are hobbits.
Which is why it's so twee.
It is very twee, yeah.
So what our audiences might not, all of them.
Yeah.
What they might not know is that I'm a pretty diehard Lord of the Rings fan.
It's true.
But Kyle, I'm curious, what do you know about hobbits and their way of life?
I know they're short people got no reason.
They are
I
pretty short.
know I know that they eat a lot of meals up to at least 11sies. They got names that are way too close to things you don't want to be saying. I'm thinking of you, Bilbo. That's about it. I'm sure I know more. They live underground like the Teletubbies in hills.
Yes, they do live in hills. Well, don't worry, Kyle, and don't worry, folks at home. The prologue to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is titled Concerning Hobbits, gives us a very detailed and very heartwarming description of Hobbit life.
I did not. I've read The Hobbit, but I've never read The Lord of the Rings. I've never read.
Yeah, The Lord of the Rings just opens with Tolkien saying, "Hey, you should know some stuff about hobbits. They're lovely."
So funny.
Yes, and amidst that prologue concerning hobbits, Tolkien describes how hobbits did once have a need to make war and defend themselves like a couple thousand years ago, but that time is long past. And he says, and I quote, and I do my Tolkien impression, so, though there was still some store of weapons in the Shire, these were used mostly as trophies hanging above hearths or on walls, or gathered into the museum at Mickle-Delving. The Mathom House it was called, for anything that hobbits had no immediate use for but were unwilling to throw away, they called a Mathom. Their dwellings were apt to become rather crowded with Mathoms, and many of the presents that passed from hand to hand were of that sort.
I freaking love it! I want to have a Mathom House!
Yes, Mathom House, by the way, was also a pre-existing Old English term, although in that context it meant something more like a treasury.
Sure. Like a literary work, a treasury.
What?
I mean, I know that like there's a treasury where money is kept.
Yes.
Right? Is that what you mean?
Or like where you keep your gold or your stuff, your valuables.
I thought you meant like because treasury can be used like in a figurative sense to mean like just a collection of valued things.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I've heard like treasuries is like an anthology. It's called it like a treasury of something. You know what I mean?
Well, that's lovely. I did not know that.
Yeah. But anyways, J.R.R. Tolkien, like, I know he did a lot of work, you know, kind of linguistically getting to the nitty gritty of the English language and of Old English. But this is, if there's one thing other than the Lord of the Rings he should be known for, it's for bringing Mathom out from obscurity. Because that is an important, frankly, he should have won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes. Well, but he was, I mean, you're absolutely right, Kyle. He was a very linguistic kind of a guy. It is really no surprise that Tolkien should dig up an Old English word and incorporate it into his writings.
Yeah.
He was a philologist, which is sort of the intersection of a linguist and a historian. He was a professor of Anglo-Saxon and then later a professor of English language and lit.
I didn't realize he taught.
He did. He was Professor Tolkien, yeah. That was like his main career before he got famous as a writer.
Splendid.
And he did apply his linguistics knowledge thoroughly in his writings. If you look into all of the names of people and places in Lord of the Rings, they have just unnecessarily detailed etymologies in real world languages and in the languages of Lord of the Rings.
That he just made up.
Created a very impossibly high standard that I feel consistently inadequate for not standing up to in my own fantasy writing.
God, can you imagine being one of his students? What the heck must have that been like? It must have been impossible, one, to learn anything, and two, to get a good grade on any of the tests.
Well, I think he was like a very well-liked professor. A lot of like authors there's like a lot of famous authors who were his students that like I really loved him.
Sure.
W.H. Auden is one that I know, but there's others.
Was C.S. Lewis one of his?
Not one of his students, but one of his dear friends. They communicated frequently and were part of like this club of author buddies at the time.
Yeah, we talked about them at some point, and I'm trying to remember the context, but regardless.
Yeah. But without question, the most impressive feat of Tolkien's writing is the many, many constructed languages or conlangs that Tolkien created. His most detailed and complete language is Quenya, which is the ancient Elven language in Lord of the Rings.
That's called Quenya?
It is called Quenya, although if you've watched the films, you'd be more familiar with Sindarin, which is the more modern Elven language. That's right, there's two.
The Sindarin and Quenya.
And Quenya, two different Elven languages that he wrote.
Are they related? Like, did Sindarin in his universe extend? Is it old English to English?
Yes.
To modern English?
Yeah, but they're not nearly that close.
Right.
Quenya, he drew a lot of inspiration from Latin, but also Finnish and other Nordic languages. But Sindarin has a much more Celtic feel to it.
Gotcha.
But besides those, there's also Kuzdul, which is the language of dwarves. There's the Black Speech, which is the language of Mordor, and a million others. It's honestly crazy.
It really is.
He's a real-life wizard. Regardless, to sum up here, Kyle, Tolkien's writing is filled to the brim with linguistic mathoms, and Mathom itself is one.
It truly is, Emily. I mean, this episode has really been a Mathom to me, and it's just... It is a Mathom of our episodes sitting in our Mathom house of episodes,
Yes, sitting in our treasury.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I mean, it's one of those words where it's I said at the beginning, you just can't have enough words to describe it,
To describe little doodads, little knick-knacks.
Little fun doodad. Yeah, it's just I think that's why we just keep coming up with twee little words for it. It's just because it's
so delightful.
Yeah, what do we call? I'm just giddy with excitement. I need to just name things. Really good. Great episode, Emily. Love it.
Kyle, can you use Mathom in a sentence?
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's make it count.
Make it count, really send this one home.
When I was a kid...
Good start.
And I had been a good little boy at the dentist. Before I got to leave, my dentist would open up a toy treasure chest and let me choose a Mathom from inside.
Yeah. Delightful.
Delightful. I tried to avoid the tooth-related toys.
Yeah, those were who wants that,
Yeah,
we want toys that don't remind us of the fact that we've just been to the dentist.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great sentence, Kyle.
Thank you, Emily. Great word. I'm so happy.
Oh, you want to be even happier, Kyle?
Yes.
Let's play a game.
Let's play a game.
You're going to love this game. This game is called It's All Quenya to Me.
Of course.
So, conlangs, or constructed languages, are not unique to Tolkien by a long shot. There are conlangs in Game of Thrones and Star Trek, which are just as developed as the ones in Lord of the Rings, and plenty more sort of semi-developed conlangs in plenty of other properties. So for this game, I'm going to give you a word or phrase in a conlang, and I'd like you to try and translate it.
Oh, this is going to be so difficult.
It's kind of going to be either you know it or you don't. So if you don't know it, just take a guess.
All right, sounds good. I'm good at that.
You are good at that. All right, the first one, you might know this first one. It is a phrase in Valyrian from Game of Thrones. It is Valar Morghulis, and it is a common phrase used by the Assassin's Guild, known as the Faceless Men, as well as a bunch of other people.
I'm pretty sure whenever something goes wrong in an assassination attempt, they say, "Go get Margulies," and they say, because Miriam Margulies is the one who
said she can fix anything.
She can fix anything.
She's my hero.
We just love her.
We just love her. No, Valar Morghulis means all men must die.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, it's used by an Assassin's Guild. I thought that was a little hint.
I guess so, yeah. All men must die. Okay, all right.
All men must die, yeah. All right, next one, Kyle. And let me get some real gusto into this one. I'm going to back up from the mic a little bit. Give it a running start. Kapla!
Oh!
That is Klingon from Star Trek, and it is probably a Klingon's most commonly used exclamation or battle cry.
What?
Yeah, it is QAPLA apostrophe.
Does it have a meaning, or is that just
it? It does. No, it has a meaning.
Oh, 2 arms.
Oh, close. Think of
2
other
legs.
Battle. No, things you might shout as you go into battle. Sentiments you might want to encourage,
Charge! To death!
I mean, they would, but no, it means victory.
Oh, victory!
Yeah. All right, you're 0 for 2. This one you might get. I don't know. It is from Avatar, your fave.
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen any of Game of Thrones or Star Trek, so I might be able to get. I have seen the first Avatar,
yes.
half of the second Avatar, which is 2 hours anyway. So,
so yeah, this is a phrase in Na'vi from Avatar, and I believe it is pronounced Wegati Kame.
Wegati Kame.
I think
it means
it is a greeting given by fellow clansmates of all clans on Pandora.
Oh boy. I see you.
Kyle, you got it.
I see you.
You got it. It does mean I see you.
Oh, James Cameron. Gotta love that man. Do you think there's going to be an Avatar-related submersible explosion someday?
Let's move on. Kyle, now we're going to
Was that the last one?
No, I've got 2 more, and the rest of these are silly.
Okay, good.
Kyle, this is a word in the Lapine or rabbit language of Watership Down.
Oh, God.
It is hrududu. Hrududu. It is often a part of warning calls as the rabbits are traveling across farms and villages. And you might be able to guess it because it's a little bit onomatopoeic. Hrududu. Something they would warn each other about.
Is it like humans are here or birds are here?
No, it's something's here. Hrududu.
Hru.
Oh, birds is a good guess.
Yeah, that's what
it's
I was
not
thinking.
it.
I don't know. Shrews are
It
here.
is a vehicle is approaching.
Oh,
it's like a little like
cars!
yeah.
Fruit-a-doo. That's so good.
Yeah. Last one, Kyle. You're definitely gonna get this one for sure.
Okay.
Because this is a phrase.
We'll see.
This is an exclamation in Simlish from The Sims 4.
Oh no.
Wabadiboo! Wabadiboo! And it is often shouted in
Wabadiboo.
panic after a cooking mishap.
Oh God. There's a fire.
Close.
Get the extinguisher.
No. Stick with fire.
I'm on fire.
You got it.
What was it? Wabadiboo?
Wabadiboo.
Wabadiboo. I forgot about Simlish and how it's my favorite conlang.
It's really good.
Wow, great game, Emily.
Yeah, conlangs are fun.
They're fun. They're the Mathoms of the gamut of language.
They are. They are for sure.
Just little treasures. They're like little
treasures. You know what? Like you and me.
Aw, Emily, like you and me. Speaking of you and me, everybody out there who are our Mathoms, you guys remember that you can find Butter No Parsnips on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really like today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more earns you a shout out either on social media or here on the podcast.
Thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Emily Moyers.
And I've been Kyle Imperator, and this has been Butter No Parsnips. Wabadiboo.
Thank you for listening to Butter No Parsnips. Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Emily Moyers, and Kyle Imperator. The theme music and additional music is by Kyle Imperator. If you liked listening to this episode, subscribe and give us a good rating and or positive review wherever you heard it. If you really liked listening, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. There you can get bonus content you can't get anywhere else, like the monthly Patreon exclusive podcast Buttered Parsnips. Your support means the world to us and encourages us to keep making more. Thanks in advance, and we'll be back next week.